Welcome back, everybody. We got a great video today, one that you're definitely not going to want to miss, and one that I think a lot of you are going to appreciate, and that is how to draft up a CV if you're a more senior grad student going in for a postdoc. Now, if you want to see videos about different kinds of CVs, whether it's for industry or someone that's got more experience, drop a like, leave a comment, and let me know, and that's something that we could work out. But today we're going to be focusing on a more senior grad student, what people may have at that level. Some people may have more, some may have less, but kind of how you should construct your CV, some do's and don'ts along the way. And we're going to, do this together. I don't have one already drafted because I want you guys to be able to see all the different pieces that I pick and how I put this together. So with that, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to want to do is pick a font. And you want to make sure that you're using the same font all the way through. You don't want some of these people go overboard on style. They have different fonts. They have all different sizes all over for their text. They have bold here and italics here, and there's really no reason for it. They just bold everything. So you need to keep it simple and calm and not make it so flamboyant and all over the place. So we're going to make up a grad student here, John Smith. So I'll just make his name in 14 points font. So the name and some of the more call out areas I'm going to put in this larger font. We could go into putting in his contact info up here on the top. That's going to be something that PIs will be interested in. So we'll just say that he lives at 123 Main Street, Boston, Massachusetts, 01950. I'm not sure if that's really a zip code in Boston, but we're going to make it one. We could put in his phone number, 123-456-7890. And we want to put in some other information from him in this same thing. So you could either add in like a vertical line in between. That's one option that I've seen. The option that I tend to go with is going to this advanced symbol and clicking on this little guy right here that'll put this little dot kind of in the middle. We could put johnsmith@gmail.com, and we could add, another one in here and have it be for his LinkedIn, profile URL. But you could use LinkedIn or ResearchGate, whatever it is that you use. Now, the next thing that we're going to be wanting to do is we want to move over to the left. We will click bold, make it a larger font, and we will write professional summary. Now, this is really important. What you want to be able to do here is to convey to those that are going to be taking a look at your CV kind of what it is that you've done in a few sentences, a high overarching picture, okay? And your professional summary is going to change as you develop through your career, and depending on the position that you're applying for, you're going to want to always tailor this section. So it's not just going to be one thing that you leave and you never change. This is something that you'll always have to come back to. But, let's say that John Smith was a senior grad student in the genetics department, and now he is looking to do a postdoc in the field of immunology. Okay, so we could put in here something like this. We should make the text smaller. A highly motivated scientist driven by the desire to elucidate novel genomic mechanisms of disease. Okay? Proficient in a variety of in vitro and in vivo techniques, including cell culture, Western blotting, and intraperitoneal injections. fast learner, and excellent collaborator. All right, so this is our professional statement. Now, one thing that I personally like to do is justify the text so that everything is nice and even going down. You don't have to do that. Again, this is all personal preference. Other things that you can do is you can try, adding an underline under professional summary. There are ways where you can make a line going all the way across. You could look up a bunch of different stylistic things to break it up how you want. For this, we're just going to keep it simple, and we're just going to be going through the different sections and kind of what it is that you want to be putting in each section. So for the next section, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put our education. All right. So in a CV, when you're applying to industry, it's a little bit different, but in an academic CV, you want to be in chronological order. So what we could do is we could say make this smaller again. We could say from 2000 to 2004, we got our Bachelor of Science, and we got it in physiology. And we got this at, Yale University. You know what? Let's make it more relatable. We'll go to Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is in Nashville, Tennessee. And then let's say that we're from 2004 to present. We're doing our PhD in genetics at Harvard. I think that's what I had said earlier. We'll pretend that he's doing his genetics at Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Something like this. There's different ways that you could format this. So you could do something like you could do something like Harvard University, and then over here you could put the years that you were in school, so 2000 to 2004. And then underneath here, you could do PhD, genetics, something like this. There's all different ways that you could format it, but basically what you want to do is get this point across. Underneath here, you could put like your advisor's name. That may be something that's important. So Jane Doe is our advisor. Okay. The next section that we're going to want to do is our experience. Again, this is going to be in chronological order. And what we're going to want to do is do a couple different things here. We're going to want to put where we were working and kind of what we were working on and kind of do it in bullet points. So let's say that our first experience in doing some sort of lab work was in the undergrad research experience. So we could put that from 2003 to 2004, right? So our last couple years, we did research and we were an undergraduate researcher. And we could say that we were at Vanderbilt, Nashville, Tennessee. All right. And then what we could do is we could just do some bullet points of what it was that we were working on. Cleaned glassware, isolated RNA and protein, prepared reagents. Prepared reagents for graduate students. And we could say that we also performed performed molecular techniques such as PCR. And you would go down and list exactly what it was that you did. We could even bring this over so it's kind of over here. And then you would go on to your next thing, okay? So then from 2004 to present is graduate student or doctoral researcher, Harvard, in Cambridge. You would go on and say what you were doing, okay? So you would go on and you would keep doing this for all your experience. Now, what things can you do to draw attention? So let's say that this is a lab that specializes in immunology, right? You want to go for a position in an immunology lab. Well, maybe you want to draw attention to that. So maybe you would have somewhere in here where you're saying, performed genetic manipulation in HeLa cells and blank 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 to inform on the immunology of cervical cancer. And in there you could do something like bold a specific word that you want to draw attention to, right? Or you could do bolding, like bold the position that you had. Those are some areas that you could add bold in. You don't want to just make everything bold though. That's going to become too distracting. Other areas that you should be highlighting on your CV are professional memberships or societal memberships. So hopefully you guys have memberships to certain, professional societies. So let's say like from 2004 to 2006, we were a member of the Endocrine Society. Whatever it is that you're on, you can go through and list all of them. We definitely are going to want something that is for our awards or awards and honors or awards and recognition, whatever it might be. So let's say that in 2005, we won an award for the Best Student Publication Award. Whatever the name of the award is. We don't have large awards like you're going to be getting in, an experienced PI that's been around for 50 years. You're not going to have a Nobel Prize written, obviously, but you want to fill in your CV and let them know you accomplished something, even if it's something that's not the biggest thing. So it could be like if your department does journal clubs or, rotates through students doing presentations of their research and you won like best presentation award, put that in there. If you won a travel award, put that in there. Keep adding lines to your CV. We are definitely going to want something for abstracts, right? So we want to let them know that we were presenting at different places. So it could be something like Smith J, Doe J. You go on and you list everybody that it is, make sure your name is in bold, list everyone that's involved, and then you would put your title. So genetic manipulation of HeLa cells. And you submitted it to the Endocrine Society yearly meeting, whatever the name of the meeting is. I don't know that the Endocrine Society has something called an Endocrine Society yearly meeting, and that was in 2004. Okay. You're definitely going to want to put publications if you have any. Hopefully by this point in your career you do, but you would put in your publications. Same thing as the abstracts. It would be Smith J, Doe J, genetic, blah, 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 blah. And then, the name of the journal article that you published and all the information, you could just copy it right off of PubMed. But you're going to want to put publications, obviously, if you have any of those. And then any other things that could stand out. So things that aren't going to be as common, but things that maybe you have. You could have editorial activities. Okay, so let's say that your PI asked you to help review a journal article that was submitted to a journal and you served as a peer reviewer. You might want to put that you were a peer reviewer down under editorial activities. You might have grants, right? So maybe you secured some kind of predoctoral fellowship or a diversity grant. There's all different kinds of grants you could get. You'd want to put those down. Again, the idea is to keep adding lines to your CV. You want to keep building yourself in a way where they say, yeah, this person has really accomplished a lot. It's not just about like where you did your studying, right? So when I applied for my postdoc at Harvard, it's not like I had Yale written on my CV at the time. I was coming out of Southern Illinois University. It's a very small school, but I had a lot on my CV. I had worked hard to get that, but that's kind of what you want in yours, is to keep working and building it up and adding lines. The last thing that you're going to want to be putting on here, again, it doesn't matter where you put it, but one important thing that you're going to want to make sure that you add on here is something like techniques or lab skills or, bench skills, whatever it is that you're going to call it. You want to be able to put like the lab techniques that And the way that I would do it is I would actually break it up. So what I would do is I would do like in vivo. And then what I would do is I would list them out. So what are the in vivo skills that we know? We know like animal handling. We know, tumor implantation. We know glucose tolerance test. Whatever it is that we know, put everything in vivo. Then we would go into in vitro. Okay, same thing. We know how to culture X, Y, and Z cells. We know how to transfect. We know how to create stable cell lines, whatever it is that we can do. And then you would go into maybe molecular, if you're in a molecular environment. So things like PCR or staining or, whatever it is. And you'll figure out the best way to break up your techniques, but you're going to want to put your techniques because the person that's actually looking to get you is going to want to know what it is that you can do. Okay, what are the techniques that you could do? So overall, how long should your CV be at this point? Again, it depends. If you're somebody that's published a lot, it's going to be longer. If you're somebody that has, done a lot of research over the years, both in undergrad and grad school, it's going to be longer. If you're somebody that's, pretty new, that you didn't do a lot of research really in undergrad, you haven't really published a lot, it may be short, only half a page. The point is that you want to have it be something like this, where it's nice and concise. Okay, this is John, this is where he lives, his contact. Okay, this is his high-level summary of himself. This is his education, his experience so far. these are his memberships, awards, his abstracts, his papers, and that they could clearly move down the list and see what it was that you were able to accomplish. So I hope this was useful. I know that this is something that you're going to constantly be evolving your CV. This is something that isn't just written and then it's just like pieces added here or there. As you move through your career, different things are going to be, they're going to become important. So maybe under your awards, like best student publication is like a really cool award. Like I would like one of those, like when I was in grad school, to win that kind of an award. But obviously, a PI that's been around for 35 years and has won all kinds of awards, maybe they might remove this to make space on their CV. They don't necessarily need that anymore. Likewise, maybe you get to a point where you're a PI and the techniques that you know don't really matter anymore, because when you send your CV out, nobody cares what techniques you could do because you're not really at the bench anymore. So I hope this was really helpful to some of you out there that maybe have been having trouble drafting a kind of CV for, a more senior grad student. This was kind of a made up example. It's been some time since I was a more senior grad student, and I don't really have a copy of mine back then, but I think mine was pretty similar to this kind of a layout, and I think this is a common way of doing it, and one that I think it logically makes sense. And I think that if a PI were to get something like this, they would be able to fairly easily follow what it is that you're talking about. So with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.